Welcome to the Femalepreneur Coach podcast. I am your host, Rebecca Barr. I am a transformational mindset and business coach and six-figure award-winning female entrepreneur. Ladies, I'm here to tell you that business and making money doesn't have to be hard when you're in alignment and flow. Inside this podcast, I will be showing you how to transform your mindset to program it for success, how to maximize your money vibrations, and how to redesign your business for ultimate financial and time freedom. You know you are meant to live an epic life. Now it's time to claim it. Hi ladies, welcome to another episode of the Femalepreneur Coach podcast. I am your host, Rebecca Barr, and I am joined today with Adele Johnston, who is an incredible coach for women who essentially want to be guided through, we were just talking actually, I know you as the menopause coach, but
Yes.
Actually when we've just been talking prior to the show starting about the breadth of knowledge that actually goes into that whole process, it's so much more than just that part, isn't it?
Yeah.
So thank you, first of all, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to dive into today's episode because we've realized as we've been talking, there's so much that we can talk about that's going to apply to so many of the women that are listening at the menopausal stage, but also prior to that, after that, like all of the things. But
Yeah.
if you wouldn't mind, firstly, welcome, just kind of giving yourself like a formal introduction, because again, I have not done you any service there with that intro, because it's incredible what you can cover.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I love the fact that we connected earlier this year, and this is the first time that we've really properly sat down to talk about all of this. So I love it. Thank you for having me. And thank you for listening or watching, if you are listening or watching. So yeah, I'm, like Rebecca said, I'm Adele Johnston. I'm the Menopause Coach. You'll find me over on social media with that handle. Or if you jump into Google and just put Adele, the Menopause Coach, then everything will come up, including my podcast, The Menopause Coach. Super easy. So I have, probably background-wise, I'm a certified nutritionist, evidence-based, and a certified positive psychology coach and certified trauma-informed breathwork facilitator. So I take a very holistic view and direction on how I work with my ladies. Like Rebecca said, I am the menopause coach, but it's a very multimodal method that I adopt and curated over years and years, being in the women's health space. And very much work to a 3 steps to success pillar system called my reclamation formula. So it's super easy, super simple to embed, and it legitimately changes all of my ladies' lives. So, yeah.
What I love as well is that we both support similar women, in the sense that obviously mine is mainly women that are in business. I guess yours is kind of that also, but whereas mine is coming from like a strategy, energy, mindset perspective, yours is really like the whole mind body connection
Yes.
to increase your performance, which I just love. Breathwork is fantastic. What a great modality to use as well. So we're kind of coming at it from very different angles, but ultimately with the same mission, which feels really great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is it. I mean, my background previously to really embedding into the women's health and menopause space was in corporate at senior management level, and I'd been there for over 20 years. So talk about pressure, stress,
Yeah.
burnout, all the things. That was my life. And it was through my own early perimenopause journey. So I actually started to recognize that my body was changing. Symptoms were a little bit intense around my early 30s. It nearly came between me and my husband. Our relationship took a really bad knock. And for years, none of us understood what was happening.
And was that after having children? Because
Yes.
you have children, don't you? So
Yeah.
I guess, was that when you intended to stop your family, or like, we're literally taking it right
Yeah.
back, but I'm always interested in the journey as well, because I think that's what gives us such a greater connection to our
Absolutely.
work. So presumably early 30s. I mean, I've only just kind of finished my journey, I think
I think.
after baby number 5. And obviously I'm 40 now. So that was kind of like very intentional in my 30s, but obviously for you that
Yeah.
was, probably prematurely, would you say, or were you done anyway, like finished that
Yeah.
journey for you?
So ours was a little bit different in that we had quite a traumatic pregnancy with the girls being twins and they were identical, what's known as monochorionic twins. So they shared the placenta.
Oh,
So it was a very high risk pregnancy, and I was in and out of hospital every 2 weeks getting checks, which I mean, it was brilliant. I had a very amazing, healthy body that grew those babies, but I did deliver them 9 weeks premature.
mm. Oh wow.
So that came with complications and challenges. And it was just after the kind of trauma of all of that, I actually had really bad PTSD as part of it. So it wasn't so much that we made the decision not to have more children. We would have had we not had twins at the
Mm.
start and not had such a traumatic experience. We probably would have had more. But it doesn't actually mean that when you're in early perimenopause that you can't have children, that you're still fertile, and you're
Yeah.
still fertile all the way through until even after your periods stop. So you can still become pregnant in your 50s as well. The kind of,
I
caveat to that.
God, I just, and this is just testament, isn't it,
Yeah.
to how bad our education system is
Yeah.
around informing women. Like, obviously, I wouldn't even have ever had any of these conversations with my own mother. So,
Yeah.
and obviously now I'm a mother, so I guess my responsibility is to become more informed so that I can support my girls. I've got three girls with
Yeah.
these kind of changes and phases and chapters of life.
Mhm.
But even I am completely ignorant and thought that once you have gone through the menopause, you can't have children anymore.
Yeah, so you can.
Yeah. Oh,
There obviously is complications because or just considerations, maybe rather than complications. But as we're entering into perimenopause, what's ultimately happening there is our pre-menopause phase. So there's kind of four phases that we go through.
mm,
Pre-menopause, we're kind of in our teens, in our 20s. We're at the height of our fertility. We've got a really healthy menstrual cycle. And I'm speaking about kind of just the kind of general population of female.
mm,
There are nuances, obviously, for other considerations. And then we move into perimenopause, which in the UK, the benchmark is around about 40, 41, that you would start to then notice that your estradiol and progesterone levels are taking a drop. So symptoms, maybe period changes. You might
mm,
notice that your period is a bit later or shorter menstrual cycle, flow. So again, you might be lighter or heavier. You might find that you've got more cramping than normal. And you just think, wow, this is not a great period month, or I've had a really great one this month. So any change that's a change for you. And you might notice some other symptoms. There's, quite a lot of them as your hormones start to drop. And things like even just emotional stability, brain fog or forgetfulness. You can
mm.
become a little bit just tender, even vaginally. You can notice some vaginal changes. And it just starts to become something you think, oh, my skin's itchy or my hair's coming out a bit more when I'm washing it in the shower. And that can start to happen at any age, but benchmark around about your early 40s. So you're then in perimenopause, and that can last for as long as it lasts for you. We're all unique, but on average, about 10 years. And then
Right.
we go into menopause, which is 12 consecutive months of no period or bleed. So you've had no bleed for 12 months in a row. And one day later, after that 12 months is ticked, that's your menopause day.
Okay.
After that, you're in stage 4 for the remainder of your life, and that's post menopause. So, all it basically means is that we've journeyed through a life of fertility where we've been highly fertile. And then when we become postmenopausal, we're not releasing eggs. Our female reproductive system is no longer operating, and we have kind of ceased our fertility years at that point. But what we would always advise as menopause support is just to, for a good couple of years, even after your last bleed, is still to maintain some form of contraception, because we do have the odd occasion where a postmenopausal woman will become pregnant.
Wow,
If
that is
that's not on the cards and not
uh,
wanted, then we definitely need to be aware of it.
yeah, and it's just incredible, isn't it, what our bodies do in order to support us through those different phases of life. But
Yeah.
I guess for you, where you've maybe started that process slightly earlier than what society would deem as the norm.
Yeah.
Like you say, it brings lots of different challenges that perhaps you wouldn't have even linked to
Mm-hmm.
that, because you wouldn't have been expecting it, would you, at that age?
No.
So I know you've mentioned before about effects on your relationship and your mindset. Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, it was quite intense actually. So Sean, my husband, he is the most amazing person in my life. We are absolute soulmates, best friends, all the things. And we don't see ourselves ever splitting. I
Yeah.
don't think anybody does when they become a partnership. But then in my early 30s, when I started to notice these symptoms, our sex life became very irregular. It became a running joke actually within friendship circles that it would be ABCs. So anniversary, birthday,
Oh,
Christmas, and that would be it. And even
yeah.
when it came round to anniversary, birthday, or Christmas, there would be the whole, oh my God, I've got to do this. And that just felt horrendous. It's like
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, but I better do it. And that brings a whole other conversation.
Mm.
So that became quite challenging between us, and arguments would happen. We actually recorded a podcast episodes together on my podcast to look at the impacts of menopause from a male perspective
Mm.
and how
Yeah.
that impacted him. So yeah, it was
And
quite
because I guess
challenging.
that would have affected his own self-esteem and self-worth,
Massively.
because as
Yeah.
much as, I'm guessing men have like an ego about these things, it's also there'll be that element of like, maybe there's something wrong with me.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. That's exactly what he said. He was like, I used to think like, what's wrong with me? Why, have you gone off me? Do you not want to be married to me anymore? And that made him pull away more. So I think there
it's
was
like
a lot of,
self-preservation, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It was a bit intense. So we journeyed through this. I then became very, very, very aware that it was early perimenopause. Kind of 18 months of different private gynecology, NHS gynecology, you name it. I had it,
Mm.
biopsies, internals, externals, all the things. And everything was very healthy, which we super give gratitude for. It's a blessing that it all came back healthy, but it still didn't explain the severity of symptoms.
Yeah.
And those symptoms were so severe for me that I actually became 1 in 10 women who resign from their careers. So I wasn't unfortunately given the support that I needed to navigate that stage in my hormonal health,
Mm.
and walked away from my corporate career very quickly because of medical purposes.
So how did that affect you at work? What did that kind of look like, that, like you say, led to the point where you literally couldn't do your job anymore?
Yeah, so it was quite a build up actually. I'd recognized that my self-confidence was, it used to be really, really high, and I would be the person that very much seen a bit of an inner feminist. So I would be a woman in a man's world, kind of looking at that glass ceiling thinking, you don't even bloody exist. There
Yeah.
is no such thing. And would do absolutely put myself forward for all of the big projects. I worked with very senior CEOs within large blue chip multinational companies. So I was that person that would always put myself forward and then do the whole holy crap, like how do I make this project work now?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would jump into it. To someone who was making really, really easy but silly mistakes, forgetting meetings. My team would constantly be reminding me of things that I needed to do for them. And it just got a bit intense that I became very introverted and thinking that I lacked a lot of belief. My confidence and
Yeah.
motivation dropped.
Well,
And
that's it, isn't it? You lose trust with yourself. I've definitely, I mean, we all joke about baby brain, but I was literally
yeah,
pregnant for 10 years and breastfeeding. And it is that sense of, God, I'm so much better than this. I don't know why I keep forgetting all these little things. It really can affect your trust and resilience in yourself and your ability to deliver. So I can absolutely imagine how
yeah,
that would have been quite unsettling for, like you say, somebody who is a high achiever,
yes.
not easily intimidated, to suddenly then feel like you've lost your mojo
Yeah,
almost. Like,
completely. My inner
yeah,
badass just left the building and
yeah, she was like, yeah, I'm just gonna exit
yeah, I'm
left
just
for a
going to
minute.
sit over here for a while. So that was quite intense. And, even to the point where it was very physical symptoms for me. So a lot of my early symptoms were vaginal. So a lot of bleeding during or after sex, pain, smear tests were almost impossible because as your estradiol part of your estrogen starts to drop in perimenopause, the lining of the vaginal wall of the skin, basically, and the muscle can thin, can
Yeah.
retract. So it becomes a lot more intense and painful for these things. I had discomfort even putting underwear on. So the thought of walking into the office, sitting down in chairs,
Mm.
it was horrendous. And then there was the whole fatigue. I used to take a 45-minute nap every single day on my lunch break that I never told anybody about because,
Oh.
the blessing in disguise was we were in the height of lockdown, so we were all working at home, which was an intense period for someone who was in crisis response and ops resilience,
Yeah.
pandemic response. But I would go away and have a lie down for 45 minutes just to get me through the rest of the afternoon. Or there was one afternoon I fell asleep on my desk
Oh,
because I was
wow.
so exhausted.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
this is all to do with hormones,
Yes.
essentially.
Yeah,
That's crazy, isn't
absolutely.
it? Because a lot of the time we think it is just mindset alone. And like, if you want it bad enough, if you're strong enough mindset, you can push through these things and just make them happen. And obviously, I'm a firm believer of not doing that, having experienced burnout in business as well, which we were just talking about offline. I was like, now I just never go against anything that doesn't feel good. I work with my body's natural energy types. I know myself, but it's
Yes.
taken a long time to get there, but also, permission to not be doing what everybody else is doing, which is great when you're an entrepreneur. You can reclaim that power, but when you're in a corporate position,
Yes.
it's very difficult, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And this is, these are the ladies that I support. It is very senior corporate ladies or business owners. And
Mm.
this is where it pulls in a lot of understanding how you do like to operate and how your body likes to work for you. I'm a huge, huge advocate. One of the core pillars in my reclamation formula is mind. And it's all about the physical brain. So, how we keep the physical brain active and healthy, but also that self cares. It's a non negotiable that if we work together, we have got self cares every day. So yeah, it does become quite intense. And no, we can't just mindset our way out of a hormone deficiency. We have to look at, well, what are the impacts? How are you feeling? We monitor health markers and then we look at what the best course of action is going to be. Because for some women, they don't want to replace hormones. And, it's been very, very respective
Mm.
of what that lady wants. With one disclaimer that I do replace my hormones, and I certainly wouldn't have the life, the connections, the relationships, the success, or the business that I have now without having given my body back its hormones.
Yeah. But again, that's just so empowering that you are recognizing that that's what I need and that's what I'm going to do. And there's a solution there. I'm not going to, as women, we love to be martyrs, don't we? And just make
Oh
things
God,
harder
yeah.
than it needs to be. But yeah, so that's a beautiful thing that you have like taken that decision. I've got all of the options available to me. These are my choices, and this is what I'm going to do for me. That's
Yeah.
like the ultimate act of self-care, isn't it? And understanding that rather than being, we get to have it all as women. We get to be joyful. We get to have full lives. We get to earn money, live our soul's purpose, be great mothers, like do all the things.
Yes.
Um, and sometimes we fall back into this default mode of just, trying to push water up a hill, making things so much harder than they need to be. So I love that. So when women work with you, obviously then they have the all the different options available, I guess, and it's putting together a plan that works for them.
Exactly, yeah. So there actually isn't, I can't sit here and say to you, so this is the first stage of your journey, and then we do this part, and then we do that part, because your journey is unique to you. So I very much have, and I teach this within my certification within the
Mm.
menopause space. We have 5 qualities within that space, and one of them is being very agendaless. So it's about going into our support and coaching sessions. It's about appreciating that as we do your immersion session and understand each of your core pillars, yeah, those 3 pillars, those steps to success, it's what's relevant for you because you are beautifully unique. And it's not about kind of pigeonholing you into a journey of saying, so this is the first part, and then we're going to move through here, and then you're going to come out here. It's very unique to what you need. And that's where it becomes a skill in itself to understand what you need and when.
Yeah, I love that as well, because that actually fits in very beautifully to how I work with clients when they're looking to build a business. That
Yeah.
it's very much about working with you as an individual, what, your individual zone of genius, your strengths, your energy types, what naturally lights you up and what doesn't, and we can put together a strategy. And I think that when you really start to like live life on your own terms, I'm going to run my business how I want, I'm going to show up how I want, I'm going to own every part of myself, my journey, my everything. I think that's when you really become unstoppable in life as a woman.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
genuinely, I think that's been the most beautiful journey for me. Like now stepping into my 40s, it's like literally I just have a complete unfuckable with energy. And
Yeah.
I think like literally everything is my way, or no, like obviously compromise in relationships, but it's like I've just got such a resilience and a sense of self that I don't conform to pressure in anything. I don't, and it's a really beautiful place to be, but it comes from like just having that holistic approach to all areas of your life, like your health, like you say, what your soul needs to be nourished, what your body needs to be nourished, what all of those things. That just feels really amazing. So obviously with your certification, so I just had a couple of quick questions actually. So if anybody who right now was sitting maybe at home and feeling like, it's a bit of a running joke, I'm always forgetting things, like da da da,
Yeah.
because we love to just make women the butt of all jokes, don't we, with these things? It makes me die. But is there any like, 5 things, if you're feeling any of these things, this is when you need to go away and get some help? So I'd love to kind of leave the ladies with those values, but then also we'll talk about the business aspect as well.
Yeah, so I would say for the individual, so for
Mhm.
you as an individual, the probably the best thing to do is to get really connected with your body. Okay, I think a lot of the ladies that probably are listening to this are very aware of the mindset connection. So the inner work will get done, whether that's through some self-cares or some breath work or meditations, you will do that. But I encourage you to really connect your physical body. And this is about understanding and appreciating how do you feel when you're going into a breath or a meditation practice. Ask yourself, where do I not feel great right now?
Mm.
And really focus in on what parts of the body are needing your love and attention.
Yeah,
All right, so that's the number one, is connect with the physical self. And absolutely, yes, your emotional regulation is important for your inner work. I would say number two, it's about getting really clear around how you're showing up for yourself. Okay, so they all kind of intertwine together, but that can be through the foods that you nourish with. And there are no good or bad foods, and certainly no right or wrong foods. The food is your fuel. Okay, that's your energy source. So think about how you're showing up and what you're fueling and energizing yourself with. And being really connected with you is intuitive. Is intuitive to understanding, well, do I feel energized the way that I'm living my nutritional life right now? Or are there certain foods that actually I don't feel great with? And it's being fully in that energized space to make decisions. It's your body. Okay, so
yeah,
that's important. So, nutritionally, are you balancing that out? And I'm not going to sit here and tell you how many grams of protein to have and how much of this to eat. Okay, it's all very relative to what you need.
mhm,
And certainly in our menopausal journey, there's a high requirement for healthy fats. Okay, so
yeah.
just that's one thing I would leave you with here is please do not be on a fat-free diet. It is not going to support your hormones.
Yeah, I don't know how that supports your body either long term. Obviously, I'm not a nutritionist, but
No.
just as a person with logical thinking, it's like, don't we need it?
Yeah.
Doesn't that keep us warm? Doesn't that keep everything like going? Like,
Yes.
don't know what I'm talking about, but to me that just seems crazy. Anything that is restrictive to me is just always a no-no as a woman. Like
Yeah.
that's societal conditioning and patriarchal, like
Yes.
attitude that you have to sacrifice or be without something or restrict yourself in some way. That
Mm.
doesn't ever sound good to me, just as a rule of thumb.
No, I
um,
agree with you. And I think it comes from, in the 90s, there was the whole fat is bad, fat is unhealthy, don't eat fat. And actually, yeah, you're completely 100% right. Fat is an essential macronutrient for our body to survive. Carbohydrates are not, which is why we hear a lot of people saying, well, if we don't need them, we shouldn't eat them. But
yeah,
please do not, eradicate the fact that your brain's main fuel source is glucose, and
Hmm.
glucose comes through your carbohydrates, whether they are fast acting or slow release.
Yeah.
So we just need to be very mindful and connected with the physical body at the same time as the emotional and the inner work that we do.
Yeah, and yet as business women and entrepreneurs, we spend so much time in software and mindset and all of the things to make sure that we're running efficiently in our business, like teams and all the things, but not as a person and as an entity, how we then become the most like efficient. And not just so that we can work more, but so that we can experience more and have
Yeah,
more joy and
right.
just feel that full of life energy. I
Mm.
don't know how I do it actually, because I am a high energy person naturally, but I can't say, I mean, I eat quite well. It's not like I'm sitting here eating like terribly, but
Yeah.
yeah, I even now is this podcast is honestly like just sends me down a rabbit hole, and I'm like, am I sleeping enough? Am I eating enough? Am I drinking enough water?
Right.
How am I still going? I don't know. Like,
Yeah. The
yeah, so
body is amazing though. This is it though, and I say this to a lot of women where they get quite, and we've got no space here for shame. Okay. So
yeah,
we leave shame and guilt at the door, and it's appreciating that the body is so bloody resilient. That
yeah,
is why we can show up each day when we think, have I even drank a glass of water today? I've had maybe 5 coffees.
yeah,
But it's appreciating that actually all fluids count. Okay, this isn't just about glasses of bottles of water. This is about all fluids count, including your coffees.
oh
So it's
good,
actually making life as easy as possible, and that's what I do. I guide it through the lifestyle pillar, and we actually go through a deep immersion session and look at your lifestyle. This isn't just about your business if you're a businesswoman, or your career if you're a career woman. It's also about, well, what are your family dynamics and commitments like? Yeah. And then we also look at your me pillar. Where are you committing to you? What do you really love doing? And that's the part of, you talked earlier about joy and happiness and how we need more of that in life.
yeah,
Hell yeah. If we're not enjoying what we do, I'm a massive, massive advocate of living your life's purpose.
yes,
And that comes from one of my biggest values alongside health is also life currency. So I refer to it as life currency rather than time. And actually, we get to waste it, we get to give it away freely to people, but we never get to renegotiate that back. And it doesn't matter how many billions we can't ever buy more.
yeah.
So never
Oh, I love
waste
that life currency.
life currency.
I always say to my clients, like, you only get like $10 a day to give out, and it's where you want to choose that. Like, you can give them to whoever you want to, in what area of your life you want to, but you only get 10. You can't, you can't kind of exceed that, and it's so true, isn't it? And what I love as well is that the overarching theme, I think, with a lot of what you do, it's about sustainability and being in it for the long haul, like enjoying your life in like for all of its duration to its fullest potential. And a lot of people and women right now, they're looking for the quick wins. They're looking for, if I can just get my head down for a year, for the next 12 months, for the next 2 years, then I can start living my life. Then I can start investing back in myself. Then I can start living really. And that, just to me, it's crazy, because you only have this moment. That's the only thing that's guaranteed. So that's so interesting that you mentioned that, because again, that's what I as a business coach, it's about, what are your goals? Every time I speak to somebody, it's like, right, well, next year I'm going to think about doing this and I'm going to do that. I'm like, well, why be waiting until next year? Right, that's next week. That's the thing that we're going
Yeah.
to be working on next, because who knows, by this time next year, your goals could have 10x even more so. Um, so let's not limit our potential of what we can achieve in that time. If you've got something in your heart right now, you're ready to go. Like,
Yes.
let's do those big exciting things first, because who knows what tomorrow is going to bring.
Well,
So I
that's
love
it.
that.
Tomorrow might
Yeah,
never come. And, it's
yeah,
not from a space of being kind of morbid with this, but we're
yeah,
not guaranteed anything. And,
yeah,
every single day we are that closer to the end. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not guaranteed. So this isn't about, I'll be happy when. Okay, if
yeah,
we use that phrase, I'll be happy when I've lost a stone. I'll be happy when I've got 10K in the bank or 10K recurring business months. It's not about the happy when, it's about that true connection in the now. So
yeah.
every day, this is probably my final top tip that's free as well, right? How good is this? Every day, awaken yourself with a gratitude.
Yeah,
Okay, so the first thing you do, I'm sure, for most people, because I used to be this person, is we wake up and the first thing we'll do is go, oh my God, you know,
So
especially
much
if
to
it's a
do.
job we're in that we don't enjoy, or we're living through the motions of life. And then we'll maybe scroll social media, and then we kind of start our day in a very negative vibrational energy. So this is about, before you give any of that life currency out, I want you to keep it in. And I invite you to waken up, and the first thing you do is you give a gratitude. So I'll share mine and you're welcome to take it. Mine every morning is, I am so grateful my eyes have opened for a new day and I'm getting out of bed pain and ailment free.
Ah, that's
That's big
lovely.
for me.
Yeah. And I guess, and obviously where you've been as well, I think you've got that renewed sense of gratitude, haven't you? Because you are obviously,
Yeah.
you know, uh, much feeling much better than you were at that time. So absolutely. And sometimes if you haven't been through those times of hardships, it's hard to really be truly grateful for where you are. But yeah, I absolutely echo everything that you say. I always start the day with gratitude, but also like intention, like today is going to be a good day. I'm going to feel amazing, and how I want to feel. And, you know, I'm kind of open to some elements of guidance from the universe. If it's like, I just want to feel really accomplished, want to feel like really like I've had the best day. Like, and I love to go to bed exhausted. I really do live every day with so much purpose and intention. Like, it's quite exhausting when I have people stay with me. Like my brother sometimes comes to say, my sister, they're like, God, I'm going, like, I'm knackered. Like literally. And I'm like, it's all about the quality, not the quantity, because I don't go to bed particularly late. Like, I am somebody that needs sleep because I'm still like breastfeeding and co-sleeping and doing all the things. But so
Mhm.
I'm probably in bed by like 9, 10 o'clock. They will stay up till midnight, but not even have achieved anything in that day. They don't go to bed with the sense of like
Yeah.
satisfaction and fullness that I do, because I'm like high energy all day. I love it. Um, but yeah, absolutely. Again, I echo everything you said. You know, part of my story was that my mum passed very suddenly, like literally instantly, and I'd only seen her the day before, and she still had this big like laundry list of things that,
Mm.
like, oh, and we were like chatting about it, and it's almost like a running joke. Whenever I see her, she'd be like, oh, you know, when I've got more money, when I'm feeling a bit better, when I'm doing this, like when I'm doing that, then I'll go on holiday, then I'll do bits in the house, then I'll get out a bit more and da da da. And literally saw her the day before, and she still had this laundry list, and the next day that was it, you know. And I
Yeah.
think that for me, I'm so grateful, and I'm sure that you would be grateful for your journey as well, is that sometimes when we overcome these traumas or these hard periods in life, it's the greatest blessing. Because God, I learned that lesson probably like mid 30s, to literally never take for granted an even second of your day, because you don't know what's going to come. And I guess for you as well, going through that experience, you know, in terms of your house, obviously at a young age, but also like the testament to your relationship, you know, like you've got to that stage in life where you've really been tested as a couple with, please God, like the worst it's ever going to get in terms of a relationship. And you've overcome that and stronger than ever. And I love that now he's almost like an integral part of your brand story, but also your business, isn't he? Like, you're such a
Yeah.
great family unit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I wouldn't actually be able to do any of this without Sean's support. And we've talked about this because there's the dynamic of, we've got the girls and we've got the house, he's got his career. And actually, we have a very, very stable dynamic that he understands that when I'm in my office and the door is closed, that it's okay, she's heavy and she's in. And
Yeah.
when the door is open, it's you can come in and chat to me, you can tell me to finish work, because I'm probably more likely just away creating something, or you know, inspiration takes a hold. And for my kind of human design type, I need a slow start to the morning.
Well, what is
So
your human design?
I'm a manifesting generator with a sacral 3-5 opening.
Hmm.
So I've got very defined throat chakra, heart space, and sacral gut space.
Hmm.
So for me, it's,
Fantastic for business.
yeah, and it's
Super
really
intuitive.
powerful, right? It's
Mm,
really
yeah.
powerful, but I
Yeah.
can burn myself out if I'm not careful
Yeah.
and don't, you know, it's that back to that point of, I do so much inner work every single day, and I have a very high connection to energies. I have that kind of, you know, borderline being able to just very easily transport myself into that kind of higher realm, shall we say. And it scares me sometimes because it does go quite deep. So I need a lot of physical body stuff,
Yeah.
grounding. I need to bring
Yeah.
myself back into me. And that's always something that comes through. So Sean is amazing at reminding me to, have you been outside today? Can you take a moment to just go and step out in the back garden on the grass? He'll make me a cup of
Amazing.
tea he'll knock the door. Like last night, he knocked the door and it was 9:30 at night. And that's normally my cut off.
Yeah.
And he popped a cup of tea just on my desk and just put his hand on my shoulder and said, it's 9:30. And I
Mm.
was like, okay, great. Yeah. Because otherwise I would just
Like,
immerse.
get in the moment. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
exactly the same. I think and it is difficult. It's difficult when you're a mum as well, I think,
Mhm.
because of I'm the manifestor generator too. I'm probably more of a morning person. Like, I'm very
Right.
high energy at the beginning of the day. By the end of the day, it like tails off. I mean,
Yeah.
there's certain things that will keep me going until midnight, like bits on the website, like I geek out and I love it and I love a
Yeah.
spreadsheet. And that isn't work for me. That's almost like fun. Like, I'll just
Exactly.
like play around, like that's my
Yeah.
fun downtime where I've not really got to think about it, but I love to do it because I always love a handle.
Yeah. So
But
you'll
it's
be like me. Like in the
yeah,
morning time, I will put the kind of eat that frog task first
yeah,
thing into my day when I start my working
yeah,
hours.
yeah,
And then I need a break in the middle of the day so I can recharge.
yeah,
Normally go to the gym, have a walk, do something for me, a breath
yeah,
work. And then later in the evening is my fun space. That's my let's get on Canva and create. Let's
yeah.
write an ebook. Let's design this program. Let's do this thing.
Yeah.
But the big tasks have to be done first thing when my energy's high.
Yeah, it's balancing the masculine, isn't it? And the feminine energy, the things that are like the more creative, like
Yeah.
inspirational projects that are just like, that would be so much fun. Like, I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love it as well that you also get the same kind of like fun element to business that I do, because it's rare, I have to say, in women, in that and I think some of it is conditioning, some of it is like human design types, and just we're all very different, but genuinely, like, this is fun. Like, I
Yeah.
love, even like, I'm like, I might grow a YouTube channel. Like, I thought that'd be
Yeah.
something fun I could work on in the background. I'm part of like an investment mastermind, and I'm going to be moving into something else in property, and I'm like, yeah, that's just like fun. Like, I do that little thing and I love it. And it's I don't know, other people would be like, oh, my fun thing might be like Zumba or something, and I'm like, that would be my idea of hell. I have no coordination.
Yeah.
That would not be a fun thing for me to do.
Yeah.
But it's almost like I've always been made to feel like bad because it's seen as like masculine, but I don't think it is. Masculine is more like you say, getting the structured done, getting the physical tasks that you need to get off your list, like, and then the feminine is more like the creative projects and inspired projects that
Yeah.
kind of like following the train of thought, like, will this work, will it not work, don't know, we'll see. So I love
Yeah.
that.
And you
So
get to have fun with it.
yeah, I think that's the thing that's missing for a lot of women, is the fun element. Like, I never attach my ego to anything that I do. I approach business with a sense of curiosity. So it's like, oh, I wonder if I did it like this instead of like that, would that work better? Would that and it might come from my psychology background. Like, genuinely, the
Yeah.
psychology of sales is fascinating to me. So I'm always like, why would that convert and then that wouldn't? And why would that resonate and that wouldn't? But I think it's a good way to be when it comes to business, because then it's not about you, it's just a process. Um, but obviously, so you're in corporate, obviously had a really terrible time during lockdown. What did that journey look like then to transition into this as a full-time business? But also, one thing we haven't really talked about is your huge success in your business as well, which I think will be really inspirational for a lot of the women. So what was that journey like, moving into
Yeah.
like entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I think that part of who I am, I'm very much, which is going to sound crazy for someone who was basically a risk manager. I am not risk adverse. So I'm very much let's jump in here and see what happens. And we have very much a big motto in our household, which I know will absolutely bite me in the ass one day when it does happen. But we very much live by it's okay, nobody died. Okay,
Yeah,
so it's like the whole thing of everything every single thing is always resolvable or recoverable as long as nobody's losing their life.
yeah,
Okay, we can't bring someone back from that. So it's always that nobody died, it's fine. Okay, so the girls failed their maths test this week at school. They came home yesterday, they were okay about it. And I said, well, how do you feel about it? And the both of them at the same time said, it's fine, nobody died.
oh,
So, it's like
yeah,
we get to overcome these things. So for
yeah,
me, leaving corporate was a huge decision. And it came at a point where I was very broken, very, very broken. And my husband, actually, I remember it to this day, we were up in a cottage that we have the privilege of booking through a friend in the north of Scotland, in half an acre of private forest land. There is no Wi-Fi, there is no 4G or 3G, there is no telephone. You're off the grid. You're in a forest in this cottage with the River Spey on the back garden, and it's
That
just
sounds magical.
glorious, absolutely glorious. So it's full detachment but reconnection to self. I'd done a lot of work over that space of the week that we'd been there, and Sean and I were just resting on the sun loungers. It was a glorious sunny day in June, and he just sat up, I'll never forget it, and he looked at me and he went, "You need to resign, you're made for more than this." And I was just like, oh, it's the permission I needed. You know, that whole like, I wanna resign, but it's
Yeah,
a lot of money. The
yeah.
role that I was doing with the wage and the salary and the benefits that I had, I thought it's a lot of money to walk away from. So
Mm.
I left. My business at the time was more of a sideline. Okay, so I was still had been supporting women and women's health as a nutritionist with their diet approaches for weight loss predominantly for around 7 years. Okay, and that was more through just contacts and friendships and family members.
Very organically.
Very organically,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was very much a first thing in the morning, last thing in the evening, and at the weekends, because my corporate role took up over, 50 hours some weeks. So it
Mm.
was very hard going. So yeah, fast forward, resigned earning about £1,000 a month reoccurring revenue, and I was feeding about £4,000 into the family unit every single month on top of Sean's. So it was very much a holy shit moment. We are like 3K short every month. What do we do? So we moved through it. I emptied the business bank account for the first few months, and then it started to grow, and I could leave a bit more in there, and then a bit more, and then a bit more. And yeah, the kind of success came from just serving in my true meaning and purpose, showing up for what I really loved to do and women I loved to support and serve. And yeah, grew the business within 10 months to over 6 figures. So it was very fast, rapid growth. And I think the main thing for me was fun is a core pillar. So fun and joy, I would hold them in the same space, but
Yeah.
also stability and resilience. It would be very ironic if an operational resilience manager didn't pull resilience into how I was running and growing the business. And that's, I think, basically why we've had so much success. And I've been able to bring team on, and it's just been phenomenal. It's been such a phenomenal journey.
You're literally on on a whirlwind journey as well, aren't you? Because this
Yeah.
is really just like the beginning and scratching the surface of the potential of your business. And I definitely remember thinking, we spoke in LA, and I was like, wow, this is like next level, because genuinely it's things like this that have essentially held women back as a species, in that not really like being able to be in their power and understanding what's going on with us, and hitting that 40 and almost then like dwindling down your life and what it
No,
means to
we want
you.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, if more women instead were like, let's go, and just embracing every chapter, every phase, every
Yes.
nuance, everything of ourselves, and really stepping into our true power, not hiding anything, not apologizing for anything, not holding back on anything. And we had the knowledge to understand how to get the most efficiency out of ourselves,
Mhm.
then does that not change the world? Like
Massively.
genuinely, like, and
We are
so
51% of the world's population right now. Women, females with a female reproductive system. Okay, we are 51% of the world's population. And I think where this gets to be quite triggering within all of those stats is actually there is, yeah, you've heard the 1 in 10
mhm,
women that resign. That at the moment is just shy of nearly 1 million women that resign from their careers around the world. And actually, 51% of the world's population will all go through, 100% of us go through menopause. We don't get to skip it. We don't choose whether we have it. It's one of these things that we all navigate through. And for some women, it's so life changing. And
yeah.
yet, there is so many things we can do to support you in that transition phase, that my ambition with all of this about making menopause mainstream is actually talking more, raising the awareness profile of it,
Yeah.
and ultimately having women feeling the most vibrant and powerful in this transition phase of life. Because I don't know about you, but I'm living till I'm way into my hundreds and
Oh God, yeah.
plan. And
Yeah.
I am fully embracing this whole life space that I'm not even halfway through my life yet. So I'd be goddamned if I'm about to allow for my body's hormone dysfunction and dropping in those hormones to take all of that future away.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was
That's
a
it. I always
whole,
say that to my kids. Like,
yeah.
obviously, women don't actually last very long in my family. And it was like most women have passed in like by their 50s in
Mm,
my along my lineage. So it's something I've always been increasingly aware of as a mother, but also, as a woman, like, oh, how much time do I have? But I think, we'll never know. But as long as you have lived like to your absolute fullest at
yes,
every point of every day,
yes,
then it's absolutely fine anyway. And the work that you do really does allow women to do that. I mean, there's so many like reframes that even just our connection over the last kind of 6 months has really got me thinking. And I have to, like, I don't know if you'll know that actually, Adele, but genuinely, like, I've had a battle with my body my whole life because of fertility. So from the age of like early 20s, where I settled down quite early, and had definitely committed to having a family by 25 and just starting that process, because kids are just, that was always from a young age, I want to be a mother, da, 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 da. And then went through like literally 5 years of infertility,
mm,
and equally throughout my pregnancies with my children, had lots of miscarriages and
mm,
pregnancies that have had to be terminated and things, although I have five, so I'm so grateful. But I've had a lot of challenges along the way, and for me as a woman, I really internalized that as there's something wrong with me.
mm,
And it's knocked my confidence over the years in terms of what I'm capable of, because it's like, well, I'm always like, anything is possible mindset, but if I can't even do this basic thing, like, does that kind of question my whole beliefs? Am I able to do anything? Like, it really affected my resilience for many years.
mm,
And it's definitely something that I've overcome. And obviously now getting into the other side of like approaching 40, was, it's something that I've built back up, that resilience, that unstoppable mindset, that everything happens for a reason.
yeah,
Definitely being more spiritual has definitely allowed that. But I think our meeting as well, and thinking, like, meeting you, and you are just so vibrant, so beautiful, so full of energy, like on an absolute mission, like you say, just getting started in business, in life, in like the collective, the world. That really inspired me as well. And I was like, bloody hell, what am I whining about? Like, what? So if I can't have any more children, or if I, like I say, go through menopause or all these things, who the hell cares? Like, with people like Adele coming up, and that is going to be supporting the female collective,
yeah,
because you're also then paying this forward through your certification, aren't you? So you're also empowering
mm,
these other women. I was like, this is not even going to be a thing. Like,
yeah,
by the time I get there, I'm good. Like, I've got all of
yes,
these absolute
you're
powerhouse
fine.
women behind me to support me. So I'm like, this isn't even a thing on my radar anymore. But that's what I'm so excited about as well. When I say about, part of my mission as a business coach is to help more heart-led women essentially live their potential. This,
Yes,
you're testament to that, because you now have your certification, so you're helping other women to go out and support other women essentially with this
hmm,
chapter of life. So are these people that are like nutritionist backgrounds such as yourself, or could
not all.
literally I decide that this is now my cause and I want to support women with that as well?
Yeah, so it's open to the certification. So it's a menopause support coach certification, and it's fully CPD certified, accredited, and doubly menopause doctor endorsed. And we've just been reached out by another massive governing body to ask us if they can certify us. So that was incredible, because it just kind of felt like, well, wait a minute, this is wild. So we will discuss a lot of this with people, but ultimately it's open to coaches and service-based providers that work with women. And that could be a PT, it could be a business coach, a mindset mentor, a life coach, a beauty therapist, or an aesthetics beauty specialist. It doesn't matter. If you are touching the lives of females, then this is where, for example, you, Rebecca, as a business and mindset mentor, you might notice that sometimes your clients are not showing up in their true sense of purpose. And they might not know why that is. They might come to you saying, oh, I've just got to put my mind over matter to get this done. But we just touched on that at the beginning, where actually it's not about a mind over matter weakness. It's about the fact that your full endocrine system right now is like an orchestra. And when that orchestra has some of the band members' orchestra instruments not playing properly, it's not going to sound great, it's not going to perform well.
Yeah.
So, this is where the ovaries become part of that orchestra, they're part of your endocrine system. Yeah, and we can have so many vast changes. So, the certification is there for every service based provider that has women with reproductive female systems that they are supporting.
Yeah, amazing. And I think, like you say, I'm realizing as well that connection, that it's the whole mind, body,
Yeah.
soul, strategy, everything, I think, as a woman, that you really need to embrace to become truly unstoppable and step into that highest vision for yourself. Because otherwise, you're going against like so many years of conditioning where you're taught to be quiet, be a good girl, play
Yeah.
safe, don't take any risks, don't take up too much space, don't do too much. And it needs more of us to kind of say, no, 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 like, but it's more than just mind over matter, like you say.
Yes.
So one thing I would love to close on, so I'm always super interested, because, let's not, make any bones about it. You've built a very successful business. And like I say, this is just the beginning. You've done it beautifully with your family first and foremost, like all of your core values intact. You've not had to sacrifice or compromise any part of yourself to do it, which is truly inspirational. Even I can't say that I can say that now, but definitely at the beginning of my business journey, I spent far too much time working, no time with my kids. Like all of my values went out of the window because I thought that's how it was meant to be. I would love to know, for anybody who is either on the beginning of their journey or looking to scale or that next level, or we've inspired to think, okay, why am I waiting 5 years? I'm going to start doing these big plans now. Do you have any advice of what they should, not should, because we don't like to use that word, but how they can kind of navigate that to just really unleash that fullest potential for themselves?
Mm, I do actually. Get very clear on your vision, values, and boundaries.
Mhm.
So this is something where I became very, very acutely aware of. I had a very push pull relationship in corporate, and I could never fathom out why. To the point where I was actually advised by my senior management team to sit on my hands for 6 months and just do as I was told.
Oh,
And that was the start of the journey of, oh God, no.
yeah.
Okay, so we get to be true to who we are, but when you're clear on what your vision is, okay, that connects you in with your purpose and your meaning. So remembering back in that positive psychology space, the psychology of the human connection, we must know what our purpose is to feel that we have meaning in this world. Okay, so being very clear around, what do you want? What do you want to do? Is it make a difference, or is it just be part of something? So that's your vision. And then you want to get very clear on your values. So two of my values, okay, I've got quite a few, but two of them are health and life currency. And I always want to make sure that my health is forefront. It's a super big lens that I use for everything. And then the life currency piece is, am I freely giving this away, or am I choosing to? Is it on my terms? And only then can you work out your boundaries. And once you've got your boundaries in place, for example, with life currency, if I have a meeting with someone online and they don't advise me that they're going to be a bit late, then I gift 5 minutes. And if they haven't shown up or messaged me in the 5 minutes, I end the call and I drop them a message to say, just rebook in here and we'll do another time. I hope everything's well, give love, and then release. So this gets to be what you need it to be, but my biggest piece in all of this is vision, values, and boundaries first. Then you may move.
Yeah, and I echo all of that again. People often say, like, how do you get so much done with 5 children and
Yeah.
multiple businesses? And it is things like that. You have to be so intentional with your time and your energy, as you would be with your money and anything else, because that is, if anything, it's more valuable. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And it's about getting the biggest bang for your buck and just protecting those boundaries like a mama bear, definitely.
Yes.
Um,
Love.
so thank you so much. I think that like literally just brings the whole conversation to a really beautiful close, because you know, genuinely, you shed so much value here in so many different areas that I think it's just, you know, it's going to be the ripple effect. You've definitely given me a lot to think about, and I have no doubt to the women listening as well that it would give them a lot to think about too, in terms of like, just like you say, where are our boundaries, you know, where are we really prioritizing ourselves and all the things. But so if anybody wants to find you and perhaps dive deeper into that work, either with you on a one-to-one or through any of your programs, what it was, the Menopause Coach, wasn't it, on Instagram? That's the best. Yeah, perfect. And we'll put everything in the show notes. But thank you so much for being such a gracious guest and giving so much of your time and your value here. Really, really appreciate you. And ladies, I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode. It's been amazing to share this time with you, and I feel honoured to be part of your journey. If you've loved what you've heard, had an aha moment, or found value in this episode, then please do like, comment and share. I would love to connect with you on Instagram and Facebook, so come and find me, and I look forward to helping you build your epic life.